Really quick, everybody, this entire video will be timestamped, so if you don't want to watch holding and get straight into a different topic, please check the pinned comment or the little red bar right down below you. Again, this entire video will be timestamped, and I'd appreciate you guys watching whatever part that you'd like to. If you're sticking around, everybody, hello and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels, and welcome back to the series we do every Friday, where this is everything that you missed in MMA this week. It is where we talk about everything that happened in MMA, just like I said, and it could be something really big, like something to do with Conor McGregor that everybody would hear about, or probably Israel Adesanya, or it's going to be something with fighters that you don't even know about getting signed to the UFC or having a fight. So it's going to be everything that you missed in MMA this week. We're covering all the news, and we're going to get into the first one. Timestamps are there if you would like to use them. First topic for today, Logan Paul versus Nate Diaz. Apparently it was in the works, and Logan Paul came out and said that Nate Diaz actually pulled out of the deal. They had something working, but it's, again, I don't know if I trust really Logan Paul's word. I don't know too much about the guy himself, and him and Nate Diaz signing to fight each other just seems really touchy. Like, I could imagine, like, even Jake Paul's throwing a contract this way, but I don't know, man. I don't know much about Logan, but apparently that was in the works, according to Logan Paul, and again, according to Logan Paul, Nate Diaz pulled out of the deal, but they had something working on. But I'm glad. I didn't really want to see that. I want to say if Nate Diaz wants to box, I want to see him fight a boxer. Like, I'm not too big on this whole YouTube boxing thing myself. Now, we're going to touch on this next one quick because I do believe we did touch on it last week, but Justin Gaethje came out again and talked about when he was going to retire again, and he keeps pushing. He's saying that he wants one more run at the title, so I would imagine this means at his next loss, we're going to see Justin Gaethje retire unless maybe something happens where he can step in on a short notice title fight, but who really knows? Justin Gaethje giving it one more shot at the title. I'm kind of cheering for him. I love watching Gaethje fight. That'd be really cool if he got the title after all of this. Now, we did have rumors about this for a very long time. We already knew from Dana White that Colby Covington was going to get the next title shot against Leon Edwards. However, now it is being worked on, and Leon Edwards has still not signed for it. This is in the works for July 22nd. It looks like they're not going to be part of an International Fight Week, what Colby Covington wanted. They're going to have their own main event again on July 22nd. It's going to be actually 2 pay-per-views in the same month. That's the same month as International Fight Week, which is very interesting. But hopefully Leon Edwards signs it, because that's going to be an absolute disaster. He's really adamant about not fighting Colby Covington. So we'll see how that goes, but it's in the works as of right now. Moving on, we have a little bit of an update on Darren Till. Darren Till did confirm, and again, we talked about this last week, that he is moving over to boxing. He wants to have a couple boxing matches because his knees are just completely messed up, and that's something that he can actually train in. Jorge Masvidal came out and said that he would actually like to put on a fight with Darren Till. He would like to sign him for Gamebred FC, and Gamebred Fighting had actually just had a really good event, and the fighters got paid extremely well. So I can see them coming together and actually doing something. It's really cool on Masvidal, and Darren Till could definitely bring in some star power. Like, if Darren Till moves over to boxing and actually fights a boxer, I would be so down to see this. I'd be happy for him, and Darren Till could make a payday, and he wouldn't have to destroy his knees. So really nice of Masvidal to do. And I know it's not like, oh my God, Masvidal's doing such a nice thing. Obviously, Masvidal will profit from this, right? But still, it's a really cool thing that he's coming there and he's like, hey, Darren Till, I'll help you out. You can help me out. You know what I mean? I like it. It's a cool idea. Moving on, we have a couple fight announcements, and we're going to get into more fight announcements, actually. Stephanie Yeager versus Irina Alekseeva, April 29th. I'm not familiar with Irina. I've probably seen her fight, but still, it's a fight announcement, as we do on the channel. We bring you all of the MMA news. I don't know what to think about it as of right now. I'd have to look into her. Now, here's the most important part of the video, or most interesting part of the video for me. There has been new UFC gloves revealed. So if you would have seen, this is going around because Gilbert Burns was trying them on. The new UFC gloves, and please ignore, I know I have really tiny hands to show this off. When you're just keeping the hands, it's not that the hands will be straight. The fingers are kind of more forced like this. So if you still want to, there's still gloves, and you could like be quite flexible with them, right? And I would imagine if you want to intentionally cheat, like someone like John Jones has a history of doing, or someone like, who's Cameron Simon, pokes eyes, kicks in the nuts, you know what I mean? Fighters that are known for doing that and probably do it on purpose, you will still be able to use these gloves to actually stretch your fingers, because obviously you'll need to like work on submissions, you'll need to grab each other, you'll need to do things, you'll need to tie clinch, but it looks like it's kind of forcing the hands to like kind of remain like this, and it's so when you punch and your hands are a little bit out, maybe that would prevent eye pokes. So far it looks good, but again, it's going to be the debut this weekend, and I hope they work. It looks like in theory it would work, and it doesn't really seem to change the fighters at all. I haven't really seen any complaints from it, but it's really interesting. So let's see how these go. Hopefully this is a great thing for the UFC, and then maybe other organizations can implement these gloves. Another piece of news moving on is Dustin Poirier is joining the desk this weekend as an analyst, not a commentator, because actually now that I'm thinking about it, would Dustin Poirier make a good commentator? I don't know. Let's see how he does at the UFC desk, and if he does, maybe he can move into a commentator role one day. I'm a big Dustin Poirier fan, and I'm not a huge Dustin Poirier fan. I don't know why I said that. Like, I like Dustin. I like watching him fight. He is obviously knowledgeable about fighting. That's what I'm talking about. So, like, I'm sitting here going, hey, you know what? That's cool. Dustin Poirier's joining the desk. I'd be happy to see him. You know what I mean? Dustin Poirier's not like my favorite fighter or anything. It's just, I hope you understand the point I'm saying. I probably just completely ruined that. It was something so easy to talk about, and I'm just sitting here. No, I like Dustin Poirier. I don't like Dustin Poirier. And I'm making it worse. So the whole point is Dustin Poirier is having his debut at the desk this weekend. It's going to be exciting to see what he has. I feel like he'll be good at it. Next topic, Michael Chiesa is under fire because he went on Ariel Helwani's show, and he called out Gunnar Nelson, okay? I'm kind of against the whole MMA community here, which people are upset about him because he's calling somebody further down the rankings, and Michael Chiesa needs to fight a contender, you know what I mean? Especially since he's holding a spot. But I actually am down to see this matchup. I don't think Michael Chiesa is going to be one of those guys to get to the title, and I am a huge Michael Chiesa fan. Love the guy, so maybe I'm biased in that sense. I've been watching him since his career started. I am a huge Michael Chiesa fan. I also really like Gunnar Nelson, so it'll be one of these fights of these two. Wait, did I even mention that? Did I mention that he was going to call out Gunnar Nelson, or did I just say he was on Ariel Helwani's show? Man, I'm turning this video into a mess, guys. My apologies. He called out Gunnar Nelson, and because he's that's backwards in the division, people are upset about him and go, oh my God, Michael Chiesa is a coward. He doesn't want to fight Li Jingliang, but he wants to fight Gunnar Nelson. But I like the matchup. This matchup, to put those two together, I would love to see the groundwork. I'd love this, and it's also an opportunity for Gunnar Nelson to jump in the rankings. I'd be so down to see this. So I'm against MMA Twitter on this one. I like it. I like Michael Chiesa. I like Gunnar Nelson. Maybe I wouldn't want to see the matchup because it'd be one of those fights where I wouldn't want either guy to lose. But still, it's a good matchup. It would be exciting. Moving on to the next fight announcement, and we were all wondering, Stephen Thompson, he posted a little bit of a teaser last week for his next fight, and it looks like it was signed. He is fighting Michel Pereira at UFC 289. That card is looking good, better, and man, Thompson looked so good in his last fight against Kevin Holland. He looked like a young version of himself, didn't fight a wrestler, and he's not fighting a wrestler this time. This one is going to be striker's delight. I cannot wait to see Wonderboy versus Michel Pereira. That is going to be an absolute treat. I actually think Wonderboy will win, but I'm so excited for this. Wonderboy is one of my favorite fighters. I'm going to be cheering for him. Favorable matchup for him. He deserves this. Big stage at UFC 289. I'm happy for him. This is going to be fun. Moving on, the Francis Ngannou drama continues. So there's not necessarily like anything specific that I have to point out for you, but there's been many talks on Twitter right now in the MMA community, on Reddit, excuse me, somebody's just doing something on their balcony across from me. So people, like even fighters like Chael Sonnen, Michael Bisping, different analysts and different YouTube channels and random people among the community. I see posts about it everywhere. There's been talk about Francis Ngannou and like, what's he doing? He's not getting the, the Wilder he wants to fight. I'm not too familiar with everybody in boxing. I know that might be a little bit disrespectful, but my apologies. He's looking to get all these fights, and then somebody came out, and again, I apologize, this is a lack of professionalism here. Somebody came out and said that he was, was it bare knuckle? It must have been bare knuckle. Some promoter came out and said Francis Ngannou was being ridiculous and asked for too much money. And that seems to be the whole story with Francis Ngannou right now, and everybody's essentially now saying he's an idiot. And I'm on team like, you guys caused this. Everybody like Ariel Helwani, everybody that just hates on the UFC for absolutely no reason. Some people, you know what, they have good hearts. They want the fighters to get paid more. But so many people are just anti-UFC because they read it somewhere and like somebody said it somewhere and they were like, hey, that's the right thing to do. Now I hate the UFC. You know what I mean? Dana White's evil. I read that somewhere. It's just like they have nothing to back that up. And again, the people who just legitimately want the fighters to make a living, they're coming from a good place. But you know, Twitter. People don't think on Twitter. And I blame everybody on Twitter. I blame everybody who's mindlessly just hating the UFC and didn't want Dana White to have a star. So they were encouraging Francis Ngannou because he didn't know any better to leave the UFC. That's who I blame, and now he's hurting. He's probably hurting. I don't know how much money he has, but still, he's having trouble and he can't sign anywhere. And now Dana White said that he's not coming back to the UFC. Those negotiations are probably horrible, and Francis Ngannou was most likely the problem because, again, it was something like $8 million. Again, that's just a rumor as far as I'm aware. $8 million he turned down in the UFC. Like, are you kidding me? That's insane. And people were encouraging him to go leave the UFC. That's nuts. I blame everybody. I blame everybody who encouraged him because he didn't know any better. And now he's in a horrible situation. So that's the Francis Ngannou news. But let's move on to some heavyweight news. Rozenstruik versus Jailton Almeida, May 13th. I'm excited about Jailton Almeida. That dude looks like he is going to be a problem. And Rozenstruik, don't get me wrong, he's a great fighter. Okay, he's a great heavyweight. But I'm kind of on the Almeida train. I think he's going to be something special. This is a really good test for him. I think he's going to pass the test, though. So that fight is on May 13th. If I didn't mention it, I'm excited. More fight announcements. The return of Michael Johnson. I don't know how long it's been since he fought. Not too long. But regardless, Michael Johnson's back. He's fighting Diego Ferreira on May 20th. And I love watching Ferreira fight. That's going to be a banger, those two. I like Michael Johnson. I like Diego Ferreira. May 20th. Looks like it's going to be really, really fun to watch. Now for probably the biggest news so far, we have the UFC and the WWE merger. Obviously, this has been the talk of the past week. You all know about it most likely. So if you're unfamiliar, Endeavor just bought like whatever they needed to buy, and now the UFC and the WWE are under one umbrella and they're coming together, and people were worried about UFC fixing fights and all that stuff, but regardless, you're not going to see much change. It might just be easier for like a UFC fighter to have an event at WWE, or just like, hey, you know what? Oh my God, it's Conor McGregor. And then Conor McGregor comes in, he just like throws a chair over somebody. That might happen. But other than that, and Dana White talked about this too. He was very adamant. It's like, hey, they're going to remain separate. The analogy that I always put was, it's like Disney buying both Marvel and Star Wars. They're still their own things. You don't see Anakin Skywalker fighting Iron Man. That's how the UFC and the WWE are going to be. So that happened. The UFC and WWE came together as one. Very interesting. Dana White doesn't seem too happy about it, though, which is a conversation for another time, but I'm interested to see what he thinks about it. Moving on to the next topic, Alexander Volkanovski versus Yair Rodriguez is being targeted for UFC 290. This is not new information. However, it seems like that they're targeted to be the headliner. And again, nothing's confirmed yet, but that's interesting. I thought they wanted John Jones and Stipe Miocic. Maybe negotiations are falling out a little bit there. Regardless, great fight. Well-deserved fight for Yair Rodriguez. If I had to pick somebody to beat Volkanovski, it would be Yair. I can see him just whipping those kicks at him, especially with having the range with his feet against Volkanovski. But then again, Volkanovski has some weird arm length for a featherweight, for like what a small guy he is. But I can't pick against Volkanovski, dude. I can't. He's just looked so good. He's been so dominant, especially his last few fights. Look at what he just did to Makhachev. He won that fight. I don't care what anybody says. I think he's going to destroy Yair. However, Yair does have the best chance of beating Volkanovski, and Volkanovski is due for an upset. Look what just happened to Valentina Shevchenko. Every champion has their upset. Will it be this time? Possibly, but I'm still picking Volkanovski. Moving on, I wanted to touch on this because it's been making the rounds of the MMA community a little bit. Glover Texiera and Alex Pereira are having like a little bit of a meme relationship, which I absolutely love. Obviously, those two are close, right? They train together. Glover's in full-time training him. But there's all these videos that are popping up, especially in Fight Week, of Glover just like trolling Alex Pereira. Like Alex was like getting a touch of makeup done, and Glover took the thing and was like in front of his face, and Glover put the camera in front of his face, and there's a spider crawling. And there was like a really, really fun one because Glover had a spider crawling on Pereira's face, and he slapped himself. And then everybody's like, oh my God, we know who to blame if Alex Pereira gets knocked out this weekend. He just took his own chin. So it's been a really nice, wholesome thing. And we've been missing that for a little while, to be honest with you. Like, it's a really cool relationship to see those two, and I hope to see more videos from them. It's kind of like, it's reminding me of when Daniel Cormier was uploading all these like just trolling things, and then he was like wiping his hand on Francis Ngannou and stuff like that. And I don't know, I love seeing that stuff. Glover's one of my favorite fighters of all times. I like Alex as well, except I don't know him too well, obviously, but it's really nice to see. And I wanted to mention that because it's been really making the rounds in the MMA community. It's been very wholesome. Next fight announcement, Amanda Ribas versus Macy Barber. Both these girls are back, and it hasn't been long since they fought. Holy, Macy just fought, and it's been announced for June 24th. This one will be very nice and get a lot of attention. I can tell you that one. I don't know who would win that fight, to be honest with you. I thought Macy lost the last fight, and I'm not impressed with Ribas. I'm not impressed with either of them, to be honest with you. But this makes sense in the division. If I had to guess, I'd pick Barber to win this one. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. Next up, we had the UFC 287 press conference, and there was a lot to unpack there. It's just Dana White was shutting down trash talk between Kevin Holland and Masvidal, which everybody was like, Dana, what are you doing? That could have sold the whole thing, and then that's a potential matchup that could happen after this fight. So I have no idea why Dana White would do that. I don't get it. He just wasn't letting him trash talk. But other than that, they had some really funny moments. I'm going to save the obvious moment because that's his own category on this video. But also Kevin Holland and Masvidal did have a run-in backstage or something like that. But as far as I'm aware, I feel like I would have seen it. There's no video, but that's all we know. They have beef, and then they tried to have beef, and then Dana White squashed beef. Other than that, there wasn't a lot going on at the press conference. I don't know why they wouldn't let him trash talk. Now for the obvious moment, Israel Adesanya has been making the rounds because at the press conference, he wore a dog collar. Then the question was, they were asked Israel Adesanya, what's on your neck? And he goes, it's a dog collar because I'm a dog and I'm about to be unleashed. And Adesanya somehow topped the cringe of, I'm going to leave him frozen like Elsa. I can't believe it. He topped it. And I already know, like, Adesanya is not the type of guy who just did that and is like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go trending if I do this. No, he just did it because he thought it'd be sick. And it just completely backfired on him. Like, I'm seeing a little bit of a trend on TikTok right now with like, because both him and Kamaru Usman are really cringy, right? And Usman during the last fight, he like came into the cage and kind of did like, I don't know what he did, but he did something with his arms where it's like he did this and started nodding his head. And then all people did on TikTok was, bro thought we were going to edit him, and they just put like clown music. It's so funny to me. So now Adesanya is doing the same thing. He wants to be in an edit, and he's saying, I'm a dog, and this dog's about to be unleashed. And that is just completely backfire on him. It is making the rounds of the community. Even his fans are like, I can't defend you on this one, Adesanya. I don't know what you were thinking there. So that's been making the rounds, and I've been really enjoying the memes. If you guys don't know me, which most of you probably don't, I'm a very small channel. So I am a big fan of MMA memes. They like make me laugh so much. And so yeah, Adesanya and the dog collar, man. I don't know what he was thinking. Now, here's a big one for you. We have some USADA drama. And Adesanya kind of did the Dan Hooker thing where he tweeted out, it was either this morning or last night, I don't recall. Regardless, he said that, hey, we need USADA to follow us. There will be no IVs. There will be no shortcuts. So obviously, Adesanya is, without saying it, accusing Alex Pereira of cheating and using an IV. But there is absolutely nothing to back that up. Nothing, excuse me. There is no evidence to back that up. I believe, this is just me, okay? I believe that Adesanya is just doing that as a built-in excuse in case he loses again, because otherwise he won't have an excuse. But if Alex Pereira is cheating, then that is an excuse, you know what I mean? He's going to lose his for the fourth time. I believe that's what's going on. However, it wouldn't surprise me if Alex Pereira used an IV to rehydrate, because the dude cuts from over 230 pounds. He's been doing his weight cut since a couple weeks ago. That's cheating in itself. So you could say Alex Pereira does cheat to get down to 185, but at the end of the day, is it cheating because he makes 185? So I don't know how I feel about that, but Adesanya at the end of the day, I think he's having a built-in excuse set up for him, which doesn't sound good. I don't like the mentality he's taken, like not even just about this, going into this whole fight. The dude is so bent out of shape. I am not liking his confidence levels in this fight, but let me know what you think about this down below. Now, that is all the MMA news I have for you guys, except for right now, the UFC 287 updates. The only thing to note is Rodriguez missed weight. He had 2 attempts and a miss by 2 pounds, I believe it was. He's 137, so the fight's still on, but that's the only thing that went wrong, so thank God. Alex Pereira made weight, and he actually doesn't look too drained. He actually looks a little bit thinner, to be honest with you, but maybe that could be the weight cut. Regardless, Alex Pereira, and it's interesting because Adesanya looks fantastic. He looks bigger. He looks more muscular. So I don't know if that'll have anything to do with the title fight. Another thing is Masvidal does not look good. He looks like he's not fat or anything, don't get me wrong, but he definitely isn't as lean as his last fight. You guys have seen it. People making fun of him all day, but at the end of the day, he's going on 40. You know what I mean? So I'm picking Burns a little bit more than I thought it was. But other than that, I don't have any notes. Everybody else looked like their normal selves. Adesanya looks bigger. Pereira actually looks a little bit thinner, but he does cut a lot of weight. And Rodriguez missed weight. I believe that's all the takeaways from the weigh-ins. And that is what I'm going to leave you guys with this week. Thank you so much for watching. If you are new here, we do this every single Friday. I have all the MMA news that you miss. I'm going to have the updates for you. So subscribe if you're brand new. Thank you for watching, everybody. And there will always be timestamps on this video. I will never scum you in that way. I'll forever have these timestamps on the screen right now. Last minute predictions for the card. I went through the whole card, gave my breakdown and predictions. You guys should check it out. Also, a UFC 290 card builder with Colby Covington on it. So if you're interested, click on that as well. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I will see you in the next video. Take care.